the game we expected to be a big-time matchup between Tetero McMillan of Arizona, one of the top receivers in college football, and Travis Hunter, one of the best two-way players, if not the best in the history of this modern era of college football, turns into the Keaton Wade game, and a lot of guys had big performances, especially on Colorado's defense today.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of the epitome of this game today because he hadn't played before, and all of a sudden he gets in there and like first series like. Was that 27 getting the sack? Keaton Wade, monster game. He hadn't played. He's been injured. He mentioned the first time he's really played in a year and goes out to get a couple sacks. Or a few other times he's rushing the passer. And I thought he was going to get a mitt on a couple of those passes that Fafita had. But great game. And there were a lot of guys that got in today. And when you win 34-7, you can get a lot of guys in. But he was one that started right from the start and played great.
Yeah. Sam Oakland-Lola also had a multi-sack game, 7 in total for Colorado's defense. At times it looked like Arizona was dealing with what Colorado was dealing with on their offensive line at times last season, where it just feels like when an edge group really gets the taste of it and those offensive linemen start kind of second-guessing things can really fall apart. And, Arizona had 6 sacks as a team through 6 games. Colorado, 7 today. Yeah. And Noah Fafita, his lowest passing yards total in his college career.
Yeah, I mean, and how much has this team changed that we're sitting here a couple minutes in and we're talking about the defense dominating in this win? And, the defense hasn't done that a ton in recent years for Colorado, but obviously they're playing good football this year, and this was one of their better games and really shut down. I know it's a struggling Arizona offense and one that's a little disjointed right now, but they still have Noah Fafita and Tetero McMillan, and those guys didn't do a whole lot today because CU got after them. And I remember back a couple weeks ago, BJ Green saying, these sacks just come in bunches, and we think the floodgates might be opening. Well, they're open now because they've gotten a bunch of them in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and Shiloh Sanders was protected pretty darn well today. Only 1 sack given up, and they rotated 8 guys in there. Even Cash Cleveland, before they really emptied the bench, was out there at center getting some reps. And when I asked Shiloh Sanders about Cash Cleveland, his face lit up right away. You can tell he's really well liked in the locker room.
Yeah, Shiloh said, I actually wish he was sitting here talking to you guys and entertaining you all. So, the little bit we've seen of him on the well-off videos, you can tell he's got a good personality. But a good personality does not get you on the field. He's clearly done something to earn a spot to where he can play a little bit and get into a game here, a conference game that was a big win. And you're right. I mean, they rotated the guards, and it was clearly kind of a platoon system with those guards where you had Tyler Brown and Kareem Harden starting, but then they brought in Khalil Benson and Justin Mayers. And you and I were trying to figure it out. It looked like it was maybe quarter by quarter. That's roughly how it went. But as a group, 1 sack allowed, and you'll take that every time. I mean, there's still too many sacks this year, but there's been now several of these games where they've given up only 1 sack or not very many. So this line kind of goes up and down. Today they were up
148 rushing yards today, Brian. And if you look at it, they had more design runs than passing attempts today. Yeah. Almost at a loss for words there.
Well, it helps when you're up 34, when you win 34-7. That's true. And coaches would say, well, game dictates that. Yeah, when you're up 28-7 in the first half.
But there was a clear emphasis on it early in the game.
Yeah, very early in the game. And, there was last week too, but it didn't go anywhere, and they had to get out of that. This week they were able to stick with it because they were able to get some more things going. And Isaiah Augustive, really nice start. He got things going for this group. Dallin Hayden with a nice big run out there today. Charlie Arfordall at the end of the game with some big runs. And so yeah, it was great to see that running game. Micah Welch, by the way, he left during this game and did not return. So he was injured. Not sure if that hamstring is bothering him a little bit more, but the 3 guys that ran the ball did a pretty good job.
And Draylon Miller gets his first collegiate touchdown. Will Shepard with a really nice touchdown catch that they actually had to review because, at first glance, it maybe looked like it would have been impossible, but he was able to get that left foot in. And so that was a really nice grab for him. And you can see kind of his confidence growing. And anything else stand out to you offensively? Jimmy Horn Jr., made a couple plays, but maybe looks like he's still kind of working his way after getting knocked out last week.
Yeah, and it's been really just kind of a slow season for Jimmy since that opener. It was just a monster opener and hasn't really found that again. And so you'd like to see that from him at some point. So I think he will. He's too good of a player. But LaJohntay Wester, several catches. And with Travis Hunter really not playing a lot today, they clearly were identifying LaJohntay as their go-to. He was the guy today and had over 100 yards. Didn't have his touchdown, so his touchdown streak ends, but well over 100 yards and was the go-to guy today. So he had a great game as well. And Savell Smalls keeps his little streak alive. I don't know if it's a streak anymore, but he had a catch at least.
Yeah, I think that's 6 in a row now. He's had one catch in each game. And unfortunately, Sam Hart looked like he injured his knee on that first touchdown, so that's a bummer. And Morgan Pearson almost caught a pass at tight end, so they look for that position a little bit today. Defensively, I guess as we transition to defense, it's a good time to talk about Travis Hunter, who Coach Prime said he's just sore. He's beat up right now. It was clear that Travis wasn't Travis, especially that play where he got faked out by Noah Fafita. That's just not – we've seen Travis Hunter enough to know that things weren't right when that play happened.
Yeah, and not only that one, but there was the fade that Travis didn't get to the ball, and Coach Prime said that it was that play that he was kind of like, that's not Travis. And he's like, Travis, you feeling all right? And it was clear like he was like the last guy out here for warm-ups. We see he didn't really practice this week. Last guy out for warm-ups. And then it was clear early on they were going to try to give him a lot of breathers on defense and really use him on offense. And then by halftime it was like, all right, we're done. We're up 28-7. You just sit. So they need Travis back for sure. They didn't need him today, but hopefully he didn't get more injured. Hopefully it's just a little banged up and he can get well for next week.
Colton Hood, DJ McKinney, Preston Hodge, and even Hunter before he got sidelined today. They all matched up against McMillan, and all of them had success. McMillan, I think, was at 38 yards. He finished with
38. Yeah,
it was clearly way below his production, and so that's a unit that those four guys are rock solid. I know Hodge kind of had a couple rough plays last week, but generally you feel so good about those guys. Mm-hmm. And Colton Hood, another interception, and he sure turns into a returner quick once he gets that pick, doesn't he?
Yeah, maybe we ought to get back there for punts. But yeah, he looks good, and I thought he was going to get a pick six, and he should have had it last week. Got tripped up, but then ran out of real estate a little bit on the edge over there. But yeah, two big returns. Colton Hood's a good player, and I think that's the best thing about Travis being a little banged up is that we're seeing more of Colton Hood and what he can do because he's a really good player, and he's getting a chance to prove it the last couple of weeks.
He's an aggressive cornerback too.
Yeah.
He plays with an edge out there, and the coverage teams play with an edge because you're just not able to get those kickoffs in the end zone right now. And there was at least what couple that went past the 25, but generally since that Baylor game, we've seen the coverage units, and Isaiah Harge is out there putting out big hits.
Yeah, you mentioned during the game, but he hits bigger than he is, and he does a really great job. And really, that Baylor return was the only one. I mean, they weren't putting kickoffs really in the end zone regularly before that, but the coverage unit was good. They have a good coverage unit. It's just they let one get away against Baylor. You just don't like to risk it, and it's nicer when your kicker can put it through the end zone and you don't have to worry about it. But at least this unit does a pretty good job for the most part.
Shiloh Sanders was in the postgame press conference with his father and head coach, and it was kind of a fun press conference. And he thanked you for, kind of sticking up for him. It was like, he was a really solid player for them last year. Did he miss a few tackles here and there? Yeah, but so did Cameron Silman-Craig, who is a really good football player. Yeah. And so you just can't give up on somebody after one performance,
Yeah, and, it shows that, look, these guys notice stuff, and it bothers them sometimes, when people rip on him. And, he's human. I'm sure Shiloh's had plenty of, good and bad coming at him over the years because of who he is, just being a public personality. But you could tell that bothered him last week, that not only that he played poorly in his estimation, but that he took a lot of heat from it, and he vowed to come back, and he came back, and they sent him on a blitz early in the game. He didn't quite get there, but put some pressure on the quarterback, and he said that got me going a little bit, and he played a much better game today, and it was nice to see that from him. I expected it. He's a better player than what he showed last week, and he showed it again today.
5 wins with 5 games left in the regular season. But like Coach Prime said, while the goal is to get Peggy to a bowl game, what did he say? He said something like she's a fancy lady, and so they need to keep winning to get her into a better bowl game.
She's a lady. Yeah, she wants something nice,
Coach, you say you're not who you were, you're not where you want to be. You surpassed your win total.
Well, we ain't where we want to be, but we sure ain't where we used to be.
So you've already surpassed your win total from last year.
Yeah, but we still ain't got Peggy straight yet.
Yeah, I was going to say you're 1 win away from getting Peggy.
Yeah, we got to get Peggy straight. Now, we don't want to just get Peggy to a bowl. Now, Peggy got great taste. Peggy's sophisticated. She's a lady. So we want to make sure we get her to a nice bowl, not just any bowl. Yeah.
Coach Prime is never bad for quotes, is he? He's always gonna have something good, and that was a classic one. I mean, he's like, we don't want just a bowl, we want something better. You can tell. I mean, that answer kind of says, all right, we're going to reach our goal, but we want something better than that. And so they know that they're hitting their stride and they're getting a little bit better. Look, it had been since 2019 since this team had won 5 games in a season. You now got 5 games, and you couldn't get to 6 until you got to 5. We talked about this last week. Now they have 5. Now you can focus on that 6. And look, they're going to go into next week. There's a real possibility before November they're bowl eligible. I mean, when was the last time that happened? Probably 2016, but it doesn't happen around here very often.
And that Cincinnati game could be a sneaky tough game now because they're starting to play good football. They just beat Arizona State today. So, Brian, you and I came down here on Friday. We went down to Tombstone, and we've turned into Cowboys.
Yeah. And even, I mean, look, with the shadows here, we look a little rough and tumble, But yeah, it was fun. I love Tombstone. It's one of my favorite little towns in America, and I love Old West and the history, and it was kind of fun.
Well, our work here is done, so let's go rob a couple stagecoaches, and then we'll see you all back when we get to Colorado.